Jen here with a YA book review for you of Superman Dawnbreaker by Matt De La Pena, which is the fourth book in the DC Icon series. I really enjoyed this book. It was my favorite out of the Icons series. Matt De La Pena is not an author that I'm familiar with, so that was also nice to be exposed to someone new. This follows the story of Clark Kent. Before I get into it, I just want to say that I am not part of like DC Marvel fandom. I mean, I know some stuff loosely, origins and things like that based just on general pop culture. So if you are hardcore into DC Marvel fandom, I don't know if you would like this book. I'm just reviewing it from the standpoint of someone who knows a little bit, but I'm not like a diehard. So it follows Clark as he is beginning to figure out who he is, which is the premise for all of the Icons books. So he knows he has powers, but he doesn't know why. He's kind of trying to figure them out. Sometimes they go haywire. And he lives in a small town. He lives in Smallville, and it's a rural town. There's a corporation that's buying up the farms, and he lives on a farm. There's corn stalks behind him on this cover, and he's worried about, you know, them trying to buy up his family's farm. And then, you know, it seems like this corporation's being charitable, but is there something more to it? And then on the side of that, so that's two things already happening. The third plot line is the town is primarily a Mexican, I want to say Mexican white town, but it's like, it has a Mexican side of town, I guess. And certain Mexican people in the community are starting to disappear, namely males. And one of the love interest is Gloria Alvarez, and which the romance between them, like, it's not a main, it's a little bit of the plot, but it's not like a main part of the plot line. Her and Clark, and then Lena Lang is the Lois Lane type character. They begin investigating these, and then Lex Luthor gets involved, and I know Lex Luthor becomes a villain. I don't know why or how, like, I don't know that backstory, but he's just kind of like a rich white kid at this point. Well, he's not, he's like a little bit older than a teenager, like maybe college aged, I guess. They don't really say. And then he kind of begins helping them. So they're investigating both this corporation that's buying up the farms and why, and then there's another player involved that's buying up farms and why, and then there's these disappearances and why, and is this all connected? And there's a lot of political undertones in here that are relevant to our times, but I really like the way Matt De La Pena does it because he did it in a non-polarizing way, which is an issue I have with YA, is when authors make grandiose statements, and I feel like you need to be socially responsible because the target age range for YA is supposed to be like 14 to 18. Obviously, myself and numerous of my friends read YA, and we are not 14 to 18 years old. But I feel like we shouldn't be telling that age what to think. We should be encouraging that age to figure out what they think. And that's coming from nearly 10 years of teaching middle school that I have that belief. So I really liked the way Matt De La Pena handled the immigration part of this book, and the plot line was actually super relevant. Like, those undertones were super relevant to the plot, so it made sense. I'm not really a fan of just offhanded political undertones. Like, if it's integral to the plot, that's one thing. That can really turn me off in a YA book for the already aforementioned reasons. But I really like this story. It was, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was my favorite of the DC Icons books because Clark is just, to me, he was incredibly likable. And I kept needing to know, like, what was happening? Like, why are these people disappearing? Is it because of this immigration stuff, or is it because of something else more nefarious? And it was just really great, and it read really well. And if you follow this channel, you know that I have been on like a dry spell of reading for a long time. I just couldn't find the right books. And for me, I read 3 books this month. And that's actually not a lot because in the past I've been able to read like 8 to 12 books in a month. But for me, that's a huge feat because I've barely been able to finish 1 book in a month. So it's just been a really good reading month for me in the month of April. But this is by far my favorite. I've never read, like I said, anything else by Matt De La Pena. I think he writes kind of generally. I think he might write more contemporary books, but I'm not completely sure. If I had to rank the books in the DC Icon series, I would say that this is my favorite. Batman is my second favorite. That was by Marie Lu, and you can find that reviewed on this channel. That's the first book I ever read by her. And I'd say it's kind of a toss-up between Wonder Woman and the Catwoman books. I've never read a book by Sarah J. Maas. I started to read Catwoman, found it incredibly boring, ended up listening to the audio because I was like, I need to read the whole Icon series. And then Wonder Woman I have been incredibly excited for because I just love Wonder Woman. I'm a child of the 80s. But I found her writing really disappointing because I love all of Leigh Bardugo's other works. You know, the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Crooked Kingdom duology. And Wonder Woman just totally fell flat for me. And I think it's because they probably told her maybe to tone down her writing a little bit because she can have like anti-heroes and things like that in her story, and it can be a little dark. So, which was kind of lame. I mean, because if that's someone's first exposure to her, it's not true to like her actual style of writing. So like I said, it's kind of a toss-up between those because, you know, I guess Wonder Woman maybe a little bit better just because I like Leigh Bardugo and I like the character of Wonder Woman. I've never really been into Catwoman. So that would be my ranking for the Icon series. It'd be cool if they turned around and did villain origin stories, although you do get a little bit of the villains in here, but just for something fun. So yeah, if you are interested in reading and you're not, like, you don't have to be, you know, like I said, into the fandom of DC and Marvel to read these. Well, obviously it's DC Icons, but I just meant like the comic book world, I guess, to read these. So, you know, you are getting the backstory from it. Also, full, you know, on the other side of that, to say that if you are super into the fandom, maybe you wouldn't like these because it's not, I don't know if it's true to anything. Like, I knew Superman was from Krypton. You know, I knew that his parents found him like as a baby in a shuttle. Like, I kind of knew that, so I know kryptonite, you know, but like that's pretty much, I knew some of his superpowers, but that's pretty much like all that I really knew. So for me, the story worked, and all the Icons books are kind of like that. But yeah, so this was Superman Dawnbreaker, and like I said, it was my favorite of the DC Icons series, and I think the cover is really cute. It also came with a poster, but the poster is kind of like an anime, like angular style, and that's not really my favorite type of animation, but it's so cool that it came with a poster. So yeah, DC Icons. You can find the reviews for the other books on this channel, although I'm not sure if I did Catwoman since I ended up listening to the audio. I just can't remember if I reviewed it or not on here. But you should check out Superman Dawnbreaker. The books are not related to each other, so you don't have to read them in any particular order. And then meanwhile, happy reading and happy writing.